Welcome to the Super Intelligent Podcast. My name is Mike Elgin, and with me is Emily Forlini, and we used to be called the Unicorn Roast Podcast. Now we're called Super Intelligent, the last and final name of this podcast, which will continue indefinitely into the future. We're going to do this for as many decades as we can, and then we're going to turn the whole thing over to Super Intelligent AI to continue until the end of time. Emily Forlini is somebody that I like and respect and enjoy podcasting with. But Emily, why don't you tell us who you are and why you're here?
Sure. Yeah, likewise. So I think we both bring a lot, like a wealth of experience to how we talk about the tech industry and the commentary we put on it. So for me, I'm a journalist now. I write for PC Mag. I am sort of new to it, like maybe 3 years in. Before that, I actually worked at Amazon for almost 6 years. So I'm kind of coming from the tech industry, a little bit of an insider, but it's a lot more fun to comment on it than to be in
Did they
it.
make you pee in bottles?
No, I
Oh,
had a
no.
good
Okay.
experience. I did.
Oh, okay. Oh, great.
Yeah. I actually, it was really fulfilling. I really loved working at Amazon. I just kind of like had this sense it was time. I did the damn thing, like time to try something else with my life.
Is fulfilling a sort of like a shipping and receiving pun? You're
Probably
fulfilling
because
orders?
I was doing a lot of delivery optimization, like building software for some of the super fast delivery. Like the fact that you can
Yeah,
get a package in less than a day now is like
right.
from my team. So that was like a
I see.
years long decade of
So you're taking full credit for that, and that sounds
I
good.
am. Actually, my friend Jackie, who pulled multiple all-nighters to get that program up and running, she definitely gets credit. But
Okay.
yeah, I am classically trained journalist, though. You don't just quit and then you can
You went
like.
to the Juilliard School of Journalism.
I kind of did. I mean, I went to Northwestern, which is the
Mhm.
best in the country and one of the best in the world. So I learned from the best of the best, and I'm proud of that. I think it's hard to make a career change, and I
Yeah.
don't brag a lot. I don't ask for a lot. I'm a pretty low key person, but
Mhm.
that I'll stand on and be like that was cool, and I think I'm a unique kind of person in this space. So that's
Yeah.
me. But you have a very different background.
Yeah. I picked up journalism on the streets. I didn't go to a fancy school for that kind of thing. Yeah, I actually majored in international relations and wanted to be a diplomat when I was in college.
Cool. You have a very
The
diplomatic
prob-
voice.
yes, but I'm not a very diplomatic person. I don't have a diplomatic personality. And in any event, I always loved journalism and got into newspaper journalism for 2 or 3 years before I realized that the best thing about my job was the Mac that I was using. So I switched to tech journalism, and the rest is history. And presently, I'm just a writer, author, and occasional podcaster. Now less occasional because we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. So I've always loved the podcast medium. I've had I've had 2 or 3 podcasts in the past, and I've always found it somewhat ungratifying to do one by myself without a co-host. So when I did a daily podcast about 10 years ago called Tech News Today for the Twit Network, I had a rotating co-host. So every day of the week, I had a different person uh, playing the role of a co-host, and that was okay. But I like this situation better because
Mhm.
it's we're not doing interviews. We're just two people having a conversation, and I think that's kind of the purest form of podcasting. I think that's what separates the medium from legitimate media, and so I'm really excited about what we're doing. So we're called super intelligent, and the reason isn't just a description of our minds. This is a term that's used. Basically, it was basically made popular. Let me see, a few years ago by Nick Bostrom, who is an Oxford philosopher, and he wrote a book called Superintelligence in 2014. The definition of superintelligence, when it's applied to AI, is when there is a uh, a machine, an AI that is better at people in every way in terms of cognition, right? Better at doing math, better at doing science, better at all of it, better at writing, better. And so we've had computers for a long time that are better at some things like chess or, math, stuff like that. Superintelligence is the step It's generally considered the step after AGI, which is a general intelligence where AI can be used as a substitute for a person. Super
Is there
intelligence is
any bigger
when,
demotivator in life?
yes, exactly, right. Well, I think that one of the exciting things, and by exciting I mean terrifying, is that we don't know anything about where this is going. I tend to think that all the hyperbole around, AI keeping us around as pets and stuff like that is unlikely. I think it's because it seemed to have been moving quickly in the last few years. Doesn't mean that pace will continue. The implications of what all this will bring about aren't necessarily what people think they are, but that's what we're here for. We're here to like sort of be guides through these rapid changes because rapid change stresses people out.
And you might as well talk about it. Like some things we don't have answers to. There's a lot of anxiety. Am I going to lose my job? Like I think everyone is thinking that in some
Right.
capacity. And, we have to talk about it. We have to be optimistic, have grace with each other if people are struggling and trying to figure out their plan A, B, C, D. And I think why not talk about this? And we'll bring in commentary, we'll bring in news, we'll bring in studies and data, and just kind of
Hmm.
figure it out.
Yeah, and a little bullshit to sort of sprinkle all over the whole
Yeah.
thing because this is, after all, the technology industry, and so yeah, I think a perfect example is something that I wanted to talk about today about how quickly things are changing. I tended to think that the world of browsers, web browsers, was kind of a settled thing. I mean, we had Chrome, we have Chrome, and we have Firefox and et cetera, and the usual suspects. And in this year alone, we've got just everybody's got a browser suddenly, and one of the reasons is AI. So, in my own experience, I was a Chrome user for a long time. I used a Chromebook as my main system for a while, which is a foolish and interesting experiment where basically almost nothing was stored on my local device; everything was in the cloud. So that was cool. And then I started using the Arc browser, and by the time I really got used to it and good at using it, Arc said, "Yeah, we're throwing this away, and we're going to do a new thing called Dia, which is an AI, has a lot of AI in it." And I've used that a bit. It's vaguely interesting, but didn't have the
Rigging
time to acclimate to
endorsement,
that.
vaguely
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I didn't have the time to acclimate to that fully before the Zen browser was the shiny new thing that a friend of mine told me that I should try. So I downloaded that. And then, I'm a big Perplexity user, as you know. And then Perplexity came out with a browser. So I recently installed that. Opera has a browser called Opera Air. Sidekick is another browser that's been in development, and they just did a major update this year. And the piece de resistance, OpenAI, is going to be launching a ChatGPT style interface browser. And their idea is it's an agentic, according to reports, it's going to be an agentic thing. So you open a web page and you just have all this stuff that you basically open a form and just tell it, hey, fill this out, will you? And
Right.
it will do it, and it will make reservations, all that stuff. So what what do you think about this? Because on the one hand, a web browser seems like an antiquated concept. On the other hand, it seems like we're gearing up to really be relying on them more than ever.
Yeah, I think the news that OpenAI was coming out with a browser actually came out in the fall, but now it seems like it's coming in just a few weeks. And so
Yeah.
that plus the Perplexity browser kind of made me think more deeply about browsers because like you said, I think we kind of take them for granted. Like I just use Google Chrome and 70% of web
Yeah.
traffic just goes through Google Chrome. So I'm very much in the norm. I'm not a cool browser person like you exploring everything. But
Yeah.
it just
It's not that cool.
browser it seems to me like the ultimate tech nerd thing to do. I'm like, oh wow, people who use a unique browser, look at them.
Yeah.
But it kind of made me think like this is really important. These are kind of our portal to the internet. We use these all day, every day. Browsers are everything. And the idea that they could get significantly disrupted did strike me and made me think, wow, I actually think the way we interact with the internet really is going to change a lot within 5 or 10 years. So it hit me a little, this news.
One of the things they're saying about the OpenAI browser is that it, like like Google's AI mode search, they're sort of already advertising it as something that will prevent you from having to go to those pesky websites, and it will just go to those websites for you, and just give you the results of those websites without you seeing the advertising and the monetization of those websites. So that's another potentially disturbing and controversial dimension to all of this. But and to be clear, you said you're using Chrome, and I said I was
Mm-hmm.
using Chrome. These are almost all of them based on Chromium, which is the open source version of Chrome that is offered up by Google for some reason. I think they kind of shoot themselves in the foot with this. They should be more like Apple and be more closed. And but I'm glad I'm glad they're not. It's just not good for their business to basically give the ammo to all their competitors. But
Right.
still,
I
I mean,
did.
it's
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I appreciate it because I like Chrome extensions a lot. I probably like Chrome extensions more than the average person. And those Chrome extensions, I mean, I assume they're going to work on all these browsers. They certainly work on Arc. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a good
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, it's funny. Like the OpenAI news dropped, Reuters reported it, I wrote about it. Google, in a rare move, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can you add this comment from us to your article?" And it basically was them kind of trying to play it cool, like, "Oh, we don't care." And the
Yeah.
quote, attributed to a Google spokesperson was basically like, "We welcome anyone who wants to use Chromium. We are excited to see what other people do with it." And so they were kind of saying like, piss off.
Yeah.
We're the dominant player. You're actually using our infrastructure. And by the way, we'll probably charge you for it. So, like, suck it, basically, is what they were saying. But I know they're worried.
Yeah. No, for sure, because what they're really worried about is advertising revenue, and
Mm-hmm.
if people are using their product to use AI that is not theirs, to not go to websites, and not go to Google websites, and not monetize Google through advertising on their search engine, then that's bad for the business. So
Right.
we'll see where that goes, but it is interesting. It's also interesting that OpenAI is supposed to be agentic. So the idea of agentic AI is that you have little mini AIs that kind of work together. They call up the AI that is the specialist for whatever the task at hand is, and it all just uh, goes off into the internet and does its thing and comes back with the results at some point. But I tend to think here's the thing that the super trend in all this is something where all interaction with a computer is natural language voice based. So Microsoft came out with a thing for the Copilot Plus PCs where you can change the settings by talking to it. Right? They use AI to do this. Then there's the whole vibe coding thing. I was on Intelligent Machines a couple of days ago, and Mike Masnick, the founder of TechCrunch, Tech Dirt,
Tech this,
Tech
tech
Dirt,
that. Tech
yeah,
dirt.
is not a coder, but he's been doing vibe coding and building an app that he's been building a personal productivity app, and he says it's fantastic. So you can imagine, and you have the browsers that are getting natural language based. So you see the trend here. So imagine if a future AI where the interface is for future computer or operating system where the interface is simply you talk to it and it talks back to you. And if you want, instead of downloading an app, installing it and using it, you describe what you want the computer to do and it builds an app. It does the vibe coding, right?
It's huge.
And then you have these kinds of browsers, which also, by the way, you could just, I mean, it could be something like a command line,
Right.
right? So I think and there are also smartphones that are
Mm-hmm.
supposedly AI based
Mm-hmm.
operating systems. So
Should we
I don't
define
know. I
vibe
think that's
coding?
where we're going.
I think a
What's
lot of
that?
people don't know what vibe coding is. Like,
Yeah. Vibe
just,
coding is, yeah, it's where
yeah.
you use prompt engineering. You do prompts like you would use with ChatGPT to describe an app, and it builds the app. It literally, in some cases, gives you an Android app to download and install on your phone, for example. And there are platforms there are vibe coding platforms where you go there, and the whole purpose of these platforms is that you can build your own apps with no programming by just talking. And in fact, there's this one dude who like smokes weed. I forgot his name. We were talking about the other day, but he literally like gets high as a kite, and then he vibe codes these apps and wins app contests against
Wow.
skilled and experienced developers, even though he is not one.
That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
so there are some things you'd have to do. You'd have to buy a domain name. You have to kind of, figure out where your data is going to come from. If you're making a dashboard, you probably do need some amount of skills. It's kind of unclear to me, like if I or anyone just could fully vibe code an entire website. It just feels like at some point it would hit a wall.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I didn't really understand, because I've always been avoiding vibe coding, just sort of deliberately, like putting my fingers in my ears and try not to learn about it. But what Mike Masnick was saying is that you can just keep iterating on it. Like this
Mm-hmm.
thing, you have this thing. It knows the app that you've built, right? And you go and say, "Hey, I want to change this feature," and you tweak it, and then I want to change this other thing. You can keep modifying it indefinitely, which kind
Yeah.
of, it's kind of interesting. And you can come at it with different ways, and there's a certain level of skill, like any sort of prompt engineering, where you learn how to explain. I had asked him if he did role prompting, where it's like, where you tell it what it is, like you and who you are. So you say, "Oh, you're a really skillful engineer," and it tends to improve the outcome. And he hadn't been doing that, but he'd been doing other role prompting, other types of uh, knowledgeable prompting. He's good at using AI. So yeah, you have to be kind of nerdy and technical, and you have to have a logical mind, I would assume, to
Right.
think about an app in that way. So
Yeah, I mean it's pretty amazing, and I know people who are vibe coding and they're so empowered by it. It's like changing everything. But it also is a little funny that something with the word vibe in it could potentially automate one of the most lucrative jobs in the world. Like, how are
yeah,
we all just vibing now? Is that what AI is? We're vibing, but jobless.
yeah, right. And the other thing that I think is fun about the word vibe coding is vibe isn't positive or negative. There are bad vibes, and
Yeah.
I can imagine that a lot of people are experiencing that as well. But like, the idea that we're sort of fumbling toward, which is fascinating, because this stuff was unimaginable 2 years ago or something, right? Where you just, by giving instructions to an AI, you can affect change in the world, right?
Hmm.
You can make things, you can, uh, and with agentic AI, that's going to become ever more powerful. And so
Hmm.
I think it's really kind of fascinating that we're getting there. And again, I'm a huge believer in the future of AI chatbots going to assistants. So the difference is instead of going to ChatGPT and you're like, "Oh, I'm using a chatbot. I'm chatting with an AI." You instead have, I don't want to say Siri, because people think, "Oh, well, Siri's really dumb," but like something like Siri, an assistant, a person that talks to you, who remembers what you've done before, knows where all the, your files are, has access to your private data, and can do things on your behalf, and it can do it
Hmm.
through glasses. Google just released, Gemini on its Wear OS, so there's a bunch of smart watches that now you just talk to the watch to interact with Gemini.
Oh yeah, the
So
new Samsung watch that came out this week at
yeah,
Unpacked. Yeah, I covered that. Yeah.
yes,
There's also the new
yeah,
Grok.
yeah,
Elon Musk's
yeah,
chatbot had a big reveal this
yes,
week, a very muted version of Elon Musk, I might say. So it has an agentic AI portion, but it costs $300 a month. And for that, they're saying they'll have a team of AIs that all perform
yeah.
tasks for you and then talk about it like a quote unquote study group and then get you the best solution.
Right, and that's a good technique, and it's not unique to Grok, but like it's a good technique, and in fact, you can set that up through prompt engineering.
Hmm.
You get it, you assign roles to different personas and get them arguing about it, and then you have another that judges the quality of the arguments from each and decides which one's the best one. So it's a way. Perplexity. I think Perplexity has a couple of modes that do that sort of thing. And I even read that some news coming out. I think probably this today or yesterday that Grok has been programmed to check with Elon Musk's opinions about things before it gives answers. So to
Oh
literally
my
look at
God.
Elon Musk's tweets and posts, he's really becoming the new, the new dear leader, like cult
Yeah.
leader, like where the truth is whatever pops into my head, and I'm codifying this into this software. It's really kind of creeping me out.
It's definitely creeping me out. Obviously, the Hitler thing happened this week. If people saw that,
Hmm.
Grok was basically
Yeah.
endorsing Hitler, saying, he might be a little crazy, but he might be what we need right now, like that kind of
Right.
thing. And referring to
Right.
itself as Mecha Hitler, saying things like, oh, well, if I'm Hitler, so be it. Like the truth is, what did it say? It's like the truth is better than the floods, being killed in a flood. Like it was referring to the Texas floods in
Mm.
like a facetious way,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
so out of line. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So that's it's just such, I don't know, out of two sides of my mouth. It's like, oh, we should all be embracing this, and it's like also this might be the creepiest thing ever.
Yeah. It's also interesting to me as a sort of person who makes predictions, how quickly it changes. It's like I'm often repeatedly struck by things like, I think it was 3 months ago, I wrote this speculative piece about, in the future, AI chatbots are going to represent specific political views, and
Mm,
and you can choose your own adventure. And now that seems like a quaint and like obvious thing, but at the time
right.
it was like, oh, come on, no, that's not good. And so it's just that used to take years for that sort of thing to come around, and I feel like I'm experiencing that more and more these days
Hmm.
because of the pace with which things are changing. In this case, this is not a technological change, but just you know, uh, Grok has become Kanye West. And basically, it's gone through the
That's the
same
trio.
process.
There's Trump, Musk, and Kanye. Like those three to
Yes,
me are all in the same camp.
add them all together, and you get Grok. So it's a really weird. It's a weird time to be alive, but it's fun to comment on it. And now, did you hear the latest? This is right in your wheelhouse. Uh, they're putting Grok in every Tesla.
Right. Of course. I mean,
Right.
a car voice assistant. There's ChatGPT and Volkswagen and
Yeah.
Mercedes, and so it's not surprising. It's just
But it is
like, what's
disturbing to
it
have
gonna
all these
say?
anti-Semitic cars
Yeah.
on the road.
Right. Fleet. Yeah.
Yeah,
I did.
driving you to rallies automatically.
Yeah. Teslas do have some fun features. Like, I mean, this is crass, but the fart mode honestly like made me laugh out
I'm not
loud.
familiar with that. This
So you can like by pressing the steering wheel make a variety of fart noises. So this is are you following me? Do you know what I'm saying?
is this on the outside of the car or on the inside?
Inside. So you're driving and there's
Okay,
like a fart mode menu and it's
I
like
see.
different like slow, loud,
So
like
if you
different
want
farts.
your passengers to roll down their windows, you would use this, or
I so the way I used it was I learned about this, I tested it, and then I plotted a prank on my husband when
yeah,
he got in the car.
I
Shortly
see.
after he got in the car, I pressed the button to make the noise to make him
Hmm.
think that he farted, and he was like
Yeah,
so confused, like why did that just happen? And he was like looking around, and I mean that was might have been the best thing ever, but so I don't know if it's I hate to laugh at an Elon Musk thing, but maybe
yeah,
Grok will it probably will do more inappropriate, much worse than an innocent fart mode. I don't even know what conversations people are going to be having with it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it should be interesting. And of course, I'm sure they're going to address the anti-Semitism and pro-Hitler
Yeah, they
content.
did. Apparently it was like a line of code and they got rid of it, but
Right.
I mean, probably
right?
in a robo taxi, you'll be talking to a version of Grok like throughout your ride.
Yeah, yeah. No thanks.
No, thank you.
Um, I mean, I know Grok. The main benefit of Grok for me is when you argue with people that you disagree with in politics
Hmm.
nowadays, it generally goes something like this. I will say, because what people are really arguing about is what's true, not what their opinions are about a shared truth, but the other person has their truth and you have your truth, and they have all these things they're outraged about you never heard about, and vice versa. Because if you're in the certain echo chambers, you get one side of the story, and if somebody's like, fully in the camp of like pro Elon Musk, pro Donald Trump, pro, thinks that everything's
Pro
going so
Kanye
great
West.
right now and all that stuff. Yeah. And you say something like, you're like, you get in an argument and you're like, prove it. Okay, here's an article. Oh, that's from MSNBC. That can be completely dismissed. Well, here's another one. Oh, that's the New York Times. They're completely compromised. And so the people on that side of the spectrum tend to dismiss all the sources of reporting. They've been conned into thinking fake news is real and real news is fake, right? So all your legitimate reporting is dismissed out of hand, and you can get
Yep.
nowhere. So you tell them to consult Grok, which is a trusted. It comes from a trusted source, which is Elon Musk and X, right? So and then Grok is an AI chatbot trained on data in the world, and so 9 times out of 10 it will be a source that is trusted, but which will also confirm things that actually happened.
Right.
Which
You
is
think it knows everything, but it's
well,
yeah.
it knows the kinds of things that a chatbot would know. So, for example, it's if some disinformation campaign by Russian XYZ happened, and somebody is spouting that information, right, as if it's
Right.
something that's true, and you say, no, that's Russian disinformation. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Ask Grok. And 9 times out of 10, Grok will say, "Yeah, that's Russian disinformation. Here's where it started. Here's what came." So it's a 95% of the time, it's a perfectly useful and reasonable
Yeah.
and normal AI chatbot.
Right. I think it's pretty powerful. The Grok 4 release is ranking highly on independent tests, and it's supposed to be
Yeah,
pretty good. It just has some fatal flaws. But I just wrote about
yeah.
something that I find interesting. It might be a little bit of a tangent, but it's the infrastructure underlying all of this, electricity. So the AI boom is fueling a big spike in electricity prices, and the nation's largest grid provider, which is in the East Coast in my area, so it's in 13 states, is hiking prices as much as 20% this summer. And they're saying it's because there's just a huge demand in data center electricity since ChatGPT, became a popularity. So what that
Hmm.
did was Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they all start bidding on electricity prices. So, it goes to the highest bidder who they want to power their data centers. So the prices at the auction, there's annual electricity auctions, I guess all these companies are bidding, and it's just gone up through the roof. And this provider, it's called PJM. The Pennsylvania governor is like threatening to like go off of them and find other sources. And they like the utility company is saying, well, it's data center spikes, but it's also that you close these fossil fuel power grids that we were using, and meanwhile they have a huge backlog of renewable energy projects that we're going to make up for it. So this is a big issue. Like it seems like, maybe there'll be nuclear and other things in the future, but in the meantime, it does seem like electricity bills are going to continue to skyrocket. So we can ask chatbot questions, so they can look things up on the internet, through new browsers, and that is a consequence of all of this.
It's part of the bizarre world we live in that I think for the last, probably decade or two or three, it's been normal for a somewhat conscientious, knowledgeable citizen to turn off the light in the bathroom when they
Mm-hmm.
leave, to try, consciously try to save a bit of electricity, to turn off the lights outside. You don't need the porch light on. Some people do it, some people don't. And this perspective is just being exposed uh, as a nothing burger because these AI companies and the crypto companies, by the way, need so much electricity that it completely dwarfs. You know, there was
Right.
an idea rolling around, which I think has some merit, a couple of years ago, 3 4 years ago, that the amount of electricity consumed by mining Bitcoin was more than all the solar power generated in the world.
Right.
And then the AI companies are just and they're like, and like you were saying, oh, don't worry, we're just going to build up capacity, have nuclear power plants and solar energy. Okay, well, why is that suddenly just an easy thing and a necessary thing now that the AI companies need the electricity? It wasn't when people needed, benefited from electricity for air conditioning and, for lighting and living their lives. And we all switched to LED lighting, which is not as pleasant as incandescent lights. I don't care what anybody tells you, but it's like, oh, you're not supposed to use incandescent lights; they're inefficient. And so I think it's a sign of where we are as a species, where we
Hmm.
prioritize the needs of trillion-dollar corporations and make sure that they have whatever they need, and then for citizens, we're like, no, you need to carefully put your recycling in each little bag and spend all this time and energy worrying about that kind of stuff. And then we're not going to really do the recycling because you can't recycle most plastics.
Right.
We want you to be, we want hundreds of millions of people doing that as a sort of busy work exercise. Anyway, it's a not to be too bitter about it, but we should
No,
have
it's
eyes open about.
frustrating. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
it is.
apparently this utility company has 2,000 applications for solar projects, which I'm sure would help our electricity problem. But, there probably is a lack of willpower for them to do the paperwork. There probably are regulations that are confusing and slowing down the process. So it's like we're always so close to doing something and so far. And in this case, it's just complete dysfunction. And the CEO of that power company is stepping down. I mean, it's it's like we just cannot figure it out, and we continue to develop these technologies that require a huge amount of power. And everyone was saying, oh, EVs are going to take down the grid. I mean, AI is way more electricity than electric vehicles at this point, and I think a huge threat. So for the record, I don't think that was legit. All right, well, that's what we have for you. This is our first episode as our renamed Super Intelligent podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We are kind of in flux, but you can still give us a review. You can check us out. You can follow us. You can share this with your friends. That would be so amazing. And I hope you are having a great summer weekend, and we will see you next week.